Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today's video will be a material series video, and this time I will be talking about iridescence, which is a thin film effect which you can see on soap bubbles and lots of other things like oil spills on the street or actually on the ocean. And then you see the effect on bugs and insects as well. So the idea of that is that there is a thin layer in between two surfaces, which is a thin film effect. And that effect creates these different shifts in IOR and therefore these color differences. And these are just a few examples of insects and objects which share this effect. You can see it on the snake here, on the skin. It's a really interesting effect, and I will be showing you how to set it up and how to create it or connect it to shaders. So before, I want to show you that there is an update for the MtoA stuff, MtoA shaders, and only I think in the latest release, and there is the thin film shader. So I'm currently using version 1.421, which has definitely the thin film effect. And this is my reference image here in the lower corner, which is just a material viewer. And then I have selected a texture node and I have just pinned it to this view. So I will be kind of trying to recreate this effect, and mostly I will apply it on the sphere. So I will need to create a few bump maps to get these nice ridges and details. And only if the bump map is working, I will apply the thin film effect or the thin film shader. Before I jump into it, I just want to show you my Patreon page, and feel free to become a patron, support me, and just give me, show me your appreciation. And also, there are different reward schemes where you can actually have personal chats, video chats, and even a professional training session with me if that is something you would like to do. So heading back over to Maya, the first thing I want to do is just dial in the base shader into a better direction. So this is a default AL surface shader, and for now I will just disable diffuse, add full on no diffuse, and then I will just work with the specs a bit. So I'm just trying to get more or less the roughness, which I can see here. You can see that it's not a perfect mirror reflection. It is pretty shiny and clean, but you can still see there is roughness to it. And I guess I can actually add a noise pattern to that, which I will do right away. So I'm using the AI noise for this. And then I will create an AL remap float. And this is just to control the float values in and out output values. And this will go into the AL surface shader, and then it will go into specular 1 roughness. So this is now what's happening. And let's just call this AL remap F, and then this is for spec 1R, just that I know for what channel I'm remapping. And the scale, let's just go to isolate selected so I can see the scale of that. And I will make this scale a bit bigger. And let's first go into world position and or pref. Pref is that if the object moves, the texture follows. On world, the texture would just swim through the object, but because it's static, it does not really matter. So let's just change it to 0.2 maybe. Yeah, it's maybe a bit big, but then again, I can add some more detail to this using the octave slider just to give more detail, and also I will introduce a bit distortion so you can actually see some nice swirly dents and bends on it. So checking the remap, what I want to do is I want to have it in the range of I think 0.1 and maybe 0.3. So let's just see what values we currently have. If I enable my pixel information, this problem is the UI is just too small on the small screen. So what do we have? 0.5, I'm checking down here. So this is now 2, and then it goes a bit darker. Let's just control it a bit. So the darker we go, the shinier it gets, and we want something like this. And let's just check what the effect looks like. So this is kind of what I was going for, just a subtle roughness on it. Let's just keep this on 1, 0, and then just work with the output values. Okay, it's a bit too rough, so let's bring back in some more shininess, dialing this back in. Okay, I think this is kind of what I want to go for. Yeah, just a subtle effect, and let's see how it looks in isolated mode. Yeah, this is actually pretty cool and detailed. So this is my base roughness, which can be just tiny tad more. Okay, so this is now the base roughness for the beetle, and I'm keep saving because it is still very happy to crash. So anyways, jumping back into the bump map, I will create a AI noise and also a AL layer float, which is just like in Photoshop, a stack of layers which are combined and then produce one single float value. So this is now my base bump, which is layer 1. And let's just connect this just for now into the ID2 slot, or actually not ID2 because this is a mismatch in data, so you can't plug it in there. So just for the sake of this, I will connect it to specular 2 roughness, which we currently don't use. So let's just start the render again. There we go. And on isolate selected, I will select the noise pattern. Spec 2 roughness, it should actually render. Let's see if this is 1. So what is going on? Alpha is not there. Is it the wrong camera? Yeah, it was somehow the wrong camera. Anyways, okay, so this is now connected. And what I like to do, I like to lock my selection. So if you are in isolate selected mode, you can actually lock the node to the last selected node. So when I now select a different node, the selection does not change anymore, which is pretty convenient. So what I want to do now is create these little dents on the surface. As you can see, they are inward dents, like little holes. You can see it nicely on the head here, these dents of things. So how do you do that? So I will connect this first to the default value, and then I will try to create a remap in between just to clamp those values a bit more. So this goes into the input, output goes into layer 1, and what I can do now is I can control how much the effect is being applied onto the surface. So the first thing, I want to clamp it. I'm thinking now in bump map. So a bump value of 0.0 is not is a flat surface. So I want to clamp it. The maximum color is 0.5. So every color now you see is going inwards or downwards. So now what I can do, I can actually clamp those values, and now these values should go. Oh, sorry, this was wrong. So this one should be, the clamping should be on 0.5. There we go. So now what you can see is all the colors are darker now, and they will create dents, so they will go inward. And then you can create some more detail to them using the octave. So now if I go increasing the resolution, and if I now zoom in a bit, you can actually see the nice detail we get here. So they are kind of round, so I think something like 2 should be enough, but I want to clamp them just a tad more. So let's see. just controlling it slightly. So this should actually give me now a pretty cool bump map. It's obviously not perfectly round because I don't have a texture for this. It is all procedural, and you can try to work with those values a bit and clamp them and try to adjust the noise. Maybe just try 1 again. So now it is kind of round again, and let's just clamping a bit more. Yeah, it's not really working out, so I like to have rather more detail in these things, so we get these harsher dents. Obviously, again, it won't be a one-to-one match because it's not textured, and I just want to show you procedurally how to do it. Okay, so this is now being clamped. And now what I want to do now, I will create an AI, just a 2D bump, sorry, not AI, 2D bump 2D node, and the out value goes into here, and I will abort the render in the hope that it does not crash now, and I will connect the bump slot, the bump map to the bump slot, and now this is connected. And let's see if I remove the lock here and I go to shaded mode, what do we see? We see nothing. Let's just update. Now we see those holes. So they are very strong now, but it is expected because I have a bump strength of 1, which is for now okay. Anyway, so I will just work with the remaps a bit more and dial in some more that we can break it up. You see it's very buggy. If you slide those values, you need to refresh it, and let's see how it looks like now. Or maybe I just broken it. Let's see if it's coming back. Not really. Okay, let's try again. Update. Okay, so it's back here. So as you can see, it's not really very intuitive to work with the bump map in Arnold because it's just not updating it properly. But anyway, so let's bring this the broader patterns to that. So I'll break the connection first so we don't render the bump map, so we just get faster feedback. And going back to isolate selected, this is my current map. And what I want to do now is I want to, on top of that, I want to create this bigger bumpy surface. So I will create another AI noise, and I will, for now, just connect it to layer 2. And in the layer float, I will enable layer 2 full on, so it's only layer 2 now enabled. So now I will scale up the effect by reducing the number to make the frequency a bit bigger. 0.2, 0.2, and I will change my resolution again to be 100%. There we go. So this is now my current value on the world scale, and this is actually a pretty good scale, and I just want to add a bit more detail, something like this. And now if you can see the effect, if I bring down the alpha, layer 1 is being added back in. There we go. It takes a while. So you can see there we have the strong bump map, which are these holes, and then you can see slightly the bump map, which is the bigger effect, what I'm going for. And then let's just create, just for the sake of it, just another one, which is a bit more detail again, but then has a higher frequency, just to give maybe a bit more these nice breakup lines and this more organic shape to that. So to see that first, I want to enable the alpha for layer 3 completely, like so. And then I would like to bring in some distortion. And now you can see you get these nice organic shapes, like these patterns of, I don't know what it is, but these lines, and it looks just more organic. And you can see this kind of effect happening here as well, that you see some lines of stuff. Right, and now I just want to dial it in a bit, so I will reduce the alpha for that. And bump maps are really sensitive values, so be careful about that. So I want the strongest effect to be those holes, so I will reduce the other maps a bit more. So now you can see the darker ones are the dots everywhere, and then you can see these organic shapes, and then you can see the overall bump map. So you can actually toggle those maps, pretty cool, using the checkboxes here. So this is my base, and then I add the broad one, and then I add the organic one on top. So saving this, and now switching back to shaded mode, and the last thing to do is to connect the bump map, and for this I abort the render and I connect the bump slot again to the normal map, and I update the render, and now let's see what we got now. Okay, so what is this? This is very broken, or very strong, not broken, but the surface is like broken up too much. So there's now two things we can do. We can bring down the overall effect of the bump by reducing the bump depth, or what we can do, we can bring down the intensity of the layers here. So I like to do that because I don't want to reduce the dents, the holes itself. So I want to keep them on one, but I just want to dial down the other layers. So it looks like it's, or it is turned off now because there's a bug in the renderer. But let's just update the scene and see what we got. Alright, this is actually almost looking good. You can see that you see these bigger holes, and then you have this broken up surface on top of that. And I think this is actually quite good already. So what I like to do now is I want to show you how this iridescence works, or thin film. It's just a simpler word is thin film. So let's just stop here with the bump, save this, and now create the iridescence part, which is called AI thin film. And for this to work, it produces actually its own Fresnel. So what does that mean? It means that you don't need to use the shaders Fresnel anymore. If this is a good thing, I don't know, but this is currently how this shader is set up. And I will just want to show you first without doing any other things, just to show you how it looks like if I connect it directly to my shader. Select this. Why can't I select the shader engine? Anyways, let's just bring in the shader, just pin this, or just do this. Okay. Alright, now I'm just connecting the out color to my surface shader, and this is what the shader looks like. So the white thing is the Fresnel, or actually this is how the shader looks, and this is you can connect this to your specular color or reflectivity color. So then you have sliders of thickness, and this just controls the thickness of the thin film effect. It's hardly, the thickness itself is not doing as much because you don't have any thickness in here. So this slider is actually what is very interesting, because in here you connect a bump map to create this nice bumpy effect like on the Beatles shell. And then you have IOR values. So these are all, I can't really tell you how to set it up because it's a very creative effect, and you need to slide them and check what looks best for you. And to create something like this, you can see that in the center, on the zero facing angle, it's kind of red, and then when it's going to the edges, it's a more purple green. So I can try to find these values in here by just controlling these shapes a bit. And let's try something. So on this side I want it to be red, right? And something like this, and it goes on over these sides, and then to a bluish color. I don't know, something in this ballpark, I guess. So, but before we continue now, what I want to do is I want to connect the thickness to the thin film. So to do that, I will take the out color of my shader, which go into the bump map, and I want to connect this to the thickness. So now this is what it looks like, and you can see you get these nice effect already happening here. But again, I want to control it a bit better, so I will create a remap again, a float remap, and this is just to control or create a stronger creative effect of this whole thing. But for this to work, you make sure that you don't clamp, and then what you can do, you can increase the max values, and then you can see that the effect is getting stronger now, which is already looking very cool. So what's happening now? So I want to connect the thin film output into my shader, and first I will reconnect the Iridescence shader, and now I want to connect the out color of the thin film to my specular 1 color. Specular 1 color, let's just first change my mode to GGX, and then connect something to this color slot, which will be the thin film. So out color goes into specular 1 color, and now you can see what's happening, which is very interesting. It is not as strong currently as it should have been, but the thing is you can control it by using the IOR. Because how this works is the shader has its own IOR, so you can actually control it or increase the effect overall using the IOR slider here. This is kind of a multiplier again. So now this is what this iridescence looks like. So what you can do, you can either play with the thickness and min and max thickness to get your color effect, or what you can do, you can use a remap color in between again, and then you can use a hue shift. But that's depends on how you want to do it. So this is kind of almost there. You can see that you get the yellows in the front, and then it turns over to purple. And this is actually pretty close to the beetle here, except that it is a bit more bright. So now the last thing I want you to see how I can do that is if you connect a remap color again, and the out color of the thin film goes into the remap first, which is just a hue shift node, which is similar to Photoshop or Nuke, where you can just control the hues, and this one goes into the spec color again. So now what I want to do, I just want to increase the exposure, so now the effect should get a bit brighter and you see more happening. It's just more intense, and then you can do a hue shift if you want to do that. See what's happening now? I'm shifting all the color into a greener color, and this is now very close to this guy here. And then again, you can increase saturation to make it more vibrant colors. Obviously this is a bit breaking physicality because the shader itself, I think, is physically plausible with these nanometer scales and stuff, but for artistic look, you can definitely do all these hacks I just showed you. Yeah, so this is what the iridescence shader looks like, and it's very important that you work on the bump, because the bump really breaks up the surface and gives you the nice effect, which is also happening here on the beetle. And it's important that you set this up correctly, because the shader lives from a detailed bump map. So test resolution 200, and I will render this and show you the final render in the comments below, so you can find all the nice high detailed render there. So thank you guys for watching, and I hope you like this highly requested tutorial on how to create iridescent shaders. Yeah, thank you guys for watching. Please give me a thumbs up, share this video, like it, and leave some feedback below so I can create more content, and be happy. Thank you guys. Bye.